Hi Year 10, this is going to be the last video I'm going to put up this year. Woo! Hooray! Well done for all of you for working hard, sending me so much work. If you haven't, sent me loads of stuff, please do try and catch up with the videos in the time you've got left, so that you've got the notes you need. What I'm going to do after this video is I'm going to, the next thing is going to be, I'm going to put the A3 booklet for this unit, this dialogues unit, onto Teams, and then your task from now until, well, your task will be over the summer to complete that booklet so that we're all kind of up to date with the units we've done so far when we return. Okay, so this last lesson is about a 15 marker. We've done all the content, and yeah, I would like you to have a go at this 15 marker for the end of the year if you can. I know that some different people are in different places in terms of catching up, but if you can get it done by the end of next week, that would be brilliant, and I can mark it over the summer. So this is actually a 15 marker I mentioned in the last video, I think. Christian and humanist views about ethics are completely opposed. Discuss this statement. So I'm going to go through some ideas about how you would go about answering this question. I'm going to give you a sample paragraph that you could use, and yeah, then I'll just talk you through the structure a little bit more at the end. Okay, so you've got to give reasons why Christian and humanist views about ethics are opposed and reasons why they're not opposed. Now, the best thing to do here is look at specific issues. So look at things that they agree about or things that they disagree about. So let's go through some. Euthanasia. You could say they're opposed because they have completely different ideas about euthanasia. Catholics and conservative Protestants are completely against it, whereas humanists tend to be in favour of it. Cohabitation. Living in a sexual relationship before people are married. Again, Catholics, conservative Protestants against, humanists accept it completely. Same-sex marriage, once again, Catholics and conservative Protestants are against, whereas humanists accept it completely. What about reasons to disagree? Well, first of all, I should say in each of those cases there, it's really easy to criticise the idea that there's a complete opposition, because in each of these cases, yes, Catholics and conservative Protestants disagree with humanism, but liberal Protestants actually agree. They give a very similar view. So you could just say euthanasia. Here's one rate where there's a conflict. On the other hand, not all Christians. The view that conflicts with humanism is not all Christians. It's only conservative Protestants and Catholics. We'll look at that when we look at the paragraph. Okay, reasons to disagree. So this is reasons to say they're not completely opposed. Firstly, the golden rule. The golden rule is the idea of, that the way to think about ethics is treat other people as you'd like to be treated. Now, we saw in the last lesson how humanists often say that is a rule they live by. Treat other people how you'd like to be treated. But also that's in the Bible. Treat how people like you be treated is in the Bible. So you could say there, well, here's a situation in which Christians and humanists have the same view of ethics. Now, you could, the difficult thing would be to criticise that. Well, there's a couple of ways you can criticise it. One, you could say, well, yes, the general idea of treat people how you like to be treated is the same. But if you actually look at how they then go on to live their lives, it seems that that doesn't, just agreeing about that one thing doesn't lead to agreement about particular ethical issues. So it's still the case that many Christians are against euthanasia and many humanists are for it, even though they both are supposed to do whatever, treat other people how they like to be treated. So maybe that believing in that particular thing doesn't actually mean you believe a lot of things in common, if that makes sense. The other way to criticise it is to say, well, they agree about what to do here, treat other people like you want to be treated, but they disagree about why. So humanists would just say, well, it's just a logical thing. If you want to be treated a certain way, you should treat people in that way. For most Christians, the idea would be, well, it comes from God. God has told them that you've got to live in this way. Okay, next one. War is my other one I put down for disagree. So disagree with a statement. So that is disagree with a statement. So what I'm saying here is that they are not opposed. And that is because, as we saw, the humanist approach to war is generally to take it very seriously as an ethical issue because it involves the taking of life, but to argue that in certain circumstances, when it causes more, when going to war, not going to war would cause great harm or something like that, then going to war can be the right thing to do. And that has a certain amount in common with just war theory. Of course, you could then say, well, but on the other hand, not all Christians have that view of just war theory. Some are complete pacifists, so that would be more to disagree with humanism. Okay, so those are different views. So I've done one about same-sex marriage. So this is the way that I would set it out. It's kind of tricky, and I talked about this in the last lesson. It's tricky because you rather than explaining one view in a paragraph, you have to explain two. You have to explain the Christian view and then the humanist view, which is either opposed or not opposed. So this is how I've done it. I don't think this is a perfect paragraph. I've written it quite quickly because I was thinking it doesn't really link to the question as well as it could. So you might want to improve it. So it says, the statement, one area in which Christian and humanist views conflict is same-sex marriage. I might change that if I was to write it again to say, one reason to agree is with the statement is that many Christians, the views of many Christians and humanists are opposed when it comes to same-sex marriage. If you use the wording of the question, it probably looks a bit better. So then I'd put the Christian view. Conservative Protestants oppose same-sex marriage because the Bible says that sex between people of the same gender is detestable. I haven't put the whole quote, just a bit of it, because I haven't really got room for the whole quote. While Catholics argue that the purpose of sex is reproduction and that same-sex relationships therefore go against natural moral law. Again, both of those I've shortened down a bit because we've got quite a lot to write in this paragraph. Humanists, on the other hand, I should say, do not believe in following the teachings of sacred scriptures and argue that there is nothing wrong with same-sex marriage because it causes nobody any harm. So they don't believe in the Bible, and they think, well, if it doesn't harm anyone, what's wrong with same-sex marriage? Here's my criticism point. So to go against the point. So my point is that there's an opposition here, and my criticism is going to be that actually it's not a complete opposition. So, however, it would be wrong to say that all Christians are opposed to the humanist view of same-sex marriage. Liberal Protestants argue that many moral teachings in the Bible are outdated and that the most important teaching to follow is love your neighbour. Therefore, they accept same-sex marriage if the relationship is a loving one. So we're saying, yes, there's an opposition between some Christians and humanists. However, many liberal Protestants agree with humanists and think there's nothing wrong with same-sex marriage. So it's not a complete... So if you go back to the question, the views are completely opposed. They're not completely opposed. They're because some Christians agree with humanists, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's what it would be. You just have to do 3 paragraphs a bit like that, and then an introduction and conclusion. So let's just have a think. Christian and humanist views about ethics are completely opposed. Discuss this statement. So this statement raises the questions of, you've got to reword the title. So I'd say whether Christians and humanists have completely different, or Christian and humanist ideas about right and wrong are completely different. Or whether it raises the question of whether Christians and humanists disagree about every ethical question, something like that. And then you say what you think. And then you just go through the things. Now, I would generally here say that the easiest one to do is to say that it's not true. I would, and you've got to do 2 reasons in your conclusion. So I would say give one reason why, positively why it's not true. So say something they agree on. So you could say, well, they both agree on love your neighbour as yourself, and then give reason to disagree with the other view. So you could say, and although many Christians and humanists clash over same-sex marriage, they aren't completely opposed, because there are also many Christians who agree with the humanist view that there's nothing wrong with same-sex marriage. So it's good to give those both. Yes, they've got things in common, and even when they haven't got things in common, it's not completely opposed because there are many Christians who still agree with the humanist view, if that makes sense. Hope that's clear. Do send me a message if there's anything you're not sure about. I will put this sheet, the one that's on the screen now, on Teams. And then if you want to write on the sheet to keep your structure in your mind, you can do that, or you can just write it on paper, take a photo and send it me on Teams if you can, and I will mark it for you. Okay, thanks very much. Cheers, bye.